Folks, with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio no pictures live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast as you're driving along in your truck or your car or in public transport. In this presentation, or this essay rather, I'd like to talk about, and this is first-hand sort of first-line experience. As I mentioned many times before, I own a share in a business, and we were invited to come in and do a sort of final talk through on the technical aspects of a package of work and a project, and we were going to be doing this part of the project. We're invited in to do a technical talk through on how it would all work and so on. Now, usually the people, not always, but usually the people at these sort of things are the other technical people, engineers, operations folks, and so on. A few coordinators maybe. And sometimes you get an HR person will come in and talk about maybe say their health and safety stuff and so on, but that's it. Usually they're over pretty quickly, but they wanted to cover three particular aspects. So as two of my colleagues were going to be kind of in the general area around that time, I came in and on the third category of discussion. So the three of us went down. They were all straight white males and, 48 to 61 age range. So, I didn't think about it. We're all sort of wearing our suits and everything. So we go in and how many people was there? Seven people in there. And there's the CEO who's quite clearly an appointment from like the Black Rocks who's in the State Streets, and those sort of guys have got big holdings there, and they've appointed their little stooge boy into it, and he's got the role of, or the job or assignment of making it much more woke and diverse, and he's definitely done that. And so we go in and find there's him and six others. There's a gay guy who hardly said a word, and the rest are brown boss chicks, smug girl boss chicks. All of them are affirmative action hires. None of them would have got the job in a real world, but they're in the jobs now of, director of this and vice president of that and so on. Now, we haven't really had much to haven't really dealt with those people, so we were a little surprised they were there, as they were the sort of the wrong people to really be at a meeting like that. In as much as the technical people that we were dealing with weren't at the meeting, and here were these other folks who really had nothing to do with the day-to-day. So again, we didn't know why they were there, but hey, who cares? These people still sign off on the invoices that we put forward, and we get payment. So you can't be too choosy or we'll get annoyed or irritated by what's going on. So anyway. So we're at the meeting. Now, before the meeting even starts, one of the women does a welcome to come. So she has to acknowledge the local indigenous tribe that hundreds of years ago once occupied the area, or supposedly, I don't know if they did or not. They could say anything, I wouldn't know. They supposedly occupied the area, and there has to be a welcome then, and we have to be welcomed in, and there has to be an acknowledgement they're the owners of the land. And we're, insurgents or invaders or unwelcome guests or whatever the case may be. So that was the opening. Nothing about let's get down to business. And then we got a bit of a sort of a look over the top of the glasses, as if she's a fucking judge in a high court or something. Do you agree? Do you accept that we should do these? We hadn't said anything, nor would we. So we had to meet her. Suddenly we're being morally questioned. Do we support and are we fully on board with this welcome to country ceremony bullshit? And no, we're not. None of us are. We think it's a load of nonsense. Now, if they want to do it, that's fine, by the way. But they deliberately, I would suggest, or if it wasn't orchestrated, it was an odd thing that we've been invited in for a specific purpose, and they come up with that nonsense, and then question us as to whether or not we're on board with it. I wasn't happy with that. That's if they want to do it, that's their business, and what we want to do is our business in that regard. So I gave some indirect answer. I was the senior guy there, so I gave some indirect answer of, well, we've got our policies, and naturally, while we're here or doing the project, we'll follow your policies and any guidance you give us. She wasn't happy with that, but decided not to pursue it. And anyway, the next day they were, I said, okay, well, who goes first? What do you want to talk about exactly? And we had some sort of communication from the technical people, so we anticipated that would be the format for the. But instead, these women, by the way, are, say, early 20s to early 30s, and they're all brown. So we then get another look from the same woman about the welcome to country thing, and a very, very terse way of talking, as if she's a school teacher talking to a 5-year-old child. So aren't there any women on your team, Billy Bob? And the tone, and it's said as if that's something that we have to apologize for or atone for, that we're guilty of some sort of a sin that has to be explained and justified, and where we have to beg forgiveness. And so, of course, there are women on the team. We were told these are the 3 things you wanted to talk about. So these are the 3 people who have expertise in that area. So where are the women on your team? No. We're not here to be interrogated. Well, our human resource policies are our business, but we're here to talk about the technical aspects of the project, and we've come prepared to talk about that, and we're, of course, more than happy to talk about it. And can I ask that you confine your questioning to that? So I got a look of, I mean, derision probably doesn't encompass it fully enough. And given the other little tidbits and little comments they were making to each other, and looking back at us as if we'd committed some sort of, they were there. Their job isn't to do a job or to do any job of work or do anything productive. They are there to fight back against the misogynist patriarchy. They've been inculcated with these views in college and in high school, and then haven't been discouraged. I mean, I thought, are these people like before Elon Musk took it over, are these ex-Twitter employees, or are they, YouTube fact checkers or something? Can anyone have this attitude in the real world? But they do. And here's an organization that gets lots of government contracts, and they're flush with cash, and they splash it around as well. So anyway, we got a few more sort of pestering type questions directed at me, and all around this. Why don't you have women here? Why not? Are any women in senior roles in your company? Why not? And so, as if we had to justify. I said, no, and I should have kept my mouth shut, but it started to get up my nose. And I mentioned a few times, we haven't come here to discuss that. This is what we've come to talk about. We can find the conversation to that we've invited us in to talk about X, and talk about ABC, and we're here and happy to have that conversation. This other stuff, if you've got any issues with our human resource policies, please put them in writing, and we'll respond in due course. But that wasn't good enough. We had to be morally lectured and told off and put in our place. And I think she was or the women there, or a couple of them in particular, were hoping that the Nazis, the straight white male Nazis, would maybe get irritated and annoyed, and maybe say something out of place, or that they could then use. There you go, the Nazi behaviour. Where's your swastika? Stop doing Nazi salutes and this type of thing. So I got irritated, and I just snapped and said, well, we're not prepared to discuss that. Okay, we're not here to be morally lectured and inquisitioned by you. So we're here to discuss the issue. No, I shouldn't have done that. And my colleagues looked at me when they saw my irritation had reached that point, and I shouldn't have let her bait me like that and stir me up. But that's the standard of goings on. Now, we've experienced not necessarily that to that extent before. And again, we were somewhat ambushed that these people were in the meeting and not the ones that we were supposed to be talking to. But even so, this is not unusual anymore. We just just bringing home this thing that these affirmative action, we're here to fight Nazis, whether it's in Twitter or YouTube or in this case a supposedly commercial business, more like a public service bureaucracy, but these affirmative action people who truly believe that their job is to fight the patriarchy, and that we come in, given our age and we're all straight white males, we'd have just, in her ideological cognizance, or this would have screamed Nazi, Hitler, and all this sort of stuff, and so this would have automatically went, well, I've got to put these Nazis in their place. I've got to show them up for the morally inept folks. So this would have been going through her mind, and instead of doing the job or adhering to what we were there to talk about, she couldn't help but go off script and give us moral lectures, and also the look on the face, that the smarmy, smug, you're right here in front of me now, Hitler, and we're in charge. The days when you straight white males call the shots is gone. We're in charge now, you fucking Nazis. And this was like written all over it. And I wonder if I was imagining, or not imagining it, but wonder if I was sort of putting too much into that sentiment of my interpretation of their behaviour, but that my colleagues were of the same view. But that just indicates to me how widespread this affirmative action madness and ideological madness goes, and how it's permeating and creeping into every corner of business and life and public service and you name it. And to be an older straight white male today is to be Hitler, as far as they're concerned. You've been a Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.